Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me again here, Conor Jones with Loyalty for your Business Tech Podcast. I'm here with Kristen Jonas from Kinesiology HR. We're going to have a really good conversation today about just HR in general, some of the hiccups that she sees a lot of small organizations making, and then also some real-life examples, as well as some advice that she would have given herself if she could go back in time. So, Kristen, do you mind introducing yourself?
Oh, sure. Kristen Jonas. I've been in HR for about 26 years in leadership positions, and really started my career in commercial construction. And then after about 15 years there, I moved over to manufacturing and spent most of my time in, kind of a blue collar and administrative, kind of both environments. And then last summer, I decided one thing that I hadn't done with my career is have my own business, my own consulting fractional HR business. So I started Kinesiology HR, and I mainly focus on small to mid-sized businesses where their HR gaps are, help them with assessments, and just kind of figure out where are their needs, where are there things that they're missing, or just project-based work that they know they've got something that needs to get done. And then where I can serve larger businesses, it's helping with some of the trainings, kind of going in and speaking to culture, conflict, harassment training, all those basic HR things.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's very similar to what we do on the IT side. We either come in and become the IT department for an organization, or we come in and supplement what their IT department's already doing.
Exactly.
So like outsourced IT sounds like outsourced HR.
Exactly.
That's what you do. So that's pretty cool. I didn't even know that was a business model before I met you. So that's awesome. Yeah. We also have some connections too, like Jason Frazier and John Warland and a few other people at VPI. Like, that's crazy. I didn't know that you guys knew each other. I didn't even know you worked there before we talked.
And I knew that they went to church together, and we've had conversations about what their environment is like and their faith journey, and then we met, and you knew these people, and I was like, oh my gosh,
like their kids are in youth group with me, so like I teach their kids, which is awesome, and then I played softball against Jason and John before too, so that's fun.
That's really great.
It was really cool.
Yeah, small world.
We'll also be talking about our faith in a little bit too, so that'll be fun. But to kick us off, do you want to tell me a little bit about some of the main hiccups that you see HR departments or smaller businesses having with HR and culture?
Yeah, I think probably not necessarily HR departments, because I think a lot of us HR folks are always trying to drive some of the same concepts to leadership and to help support the employees in the organization. And oftentimes we're just not quite getting the culture right. We are, everybody's looking for a good culture, but what does that mean? And oftentimes leaders are finding it to be more about the gimmicks and, the features. We've got a great break room, and we do once a month pizza on every Friday.
The pizza
Fridays,
parties and all that,
and we have health insurance and 401k, and we've got life insurance, and I just say that's just a basic house. I mean, that's just your basics. So you're covering your bases, but you're not setting yourself apart from another organization. So I think it's thinking that those features, those bells and whistles, are really what employees are looking for, and that's not at all what most people are trying to get from their employment experience.
Yeah, I mean, from my own employment experience, what I care about is work-life balance. I care about financial and PTO and stuff like that, or the 401k is being met, or in my case, having X amount of PTO days so that I can spend time with my kids and spend time with my wife, especially when summer's here. We only get 3 months of it here in Wisconsin, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and sometimes leaders will misinterpret that. They'll say, so what employees want is more time away from us?
Yeah.
And I say, no, what employees want is they want to have it both. They want to be able to coach their kids softball and be able to leave at 3:30 on certain days if they have to. And they also want to be successful in their careers. They want the balance. And sometimes the balance means a sufficient amount of flexibility and a sufficient amount of PTO.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How have you seen, as a lot of businesses are shifting to more remote work and inversely shifting back to in-person work from the remote work that happened 6-7 years ago with COVID.
Yeah.
What have you seen with some of the tension between employee and employer with that?
Yeah, for the most part, what that is employees have gotten comfortable doing it their way at home, and there was too much of an abruptness. So there is a lifestyle that is kind of adapted when you are working from home. now you don't have to factor in commute. Now you don't have to factor in maybe those little interruptions that might personally happen. But oftentimes leaders are so concerned about that, like, oh, okay, so like how many times are they having personal calls? I said, but in the office, how many times is another employee sitting in another employee's office?
Yeah.
And they're shooting the breeze about the Packer game. So I said, these are the same, work interruptions, but we're just uncomfortable about it when it's from home. So
because we can't control it and we can't see it and we
Yes.
don't know. And then that comes to me at least like a lack of trust. Like you don't trust the people that you bring in, or you just want to control it.
Yeah. So, and I think it also depends on, there's a generational gap when it comes to the comfort level. So, and this is a complete generalization, but for the most part, boomers are very interested in quantity of hours.
Oh, for sure.
Face to face. That's how they've learned to communicate, is face to face. And then we go all the way to the opposite extreme, like our Gen Zs, they communicate behind a screen.
Yeah.
And they're not interested in putting in 55-hour work week is not how they see career advancement, is their path to career advancement. Their path to career advancement looks very different. So we kind of sometimes see a clash of generations in terms of, what does that look like?
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
And you and I both come from different generations. I'm either like the youngest millennial that could possibly exist, or whatever the one right after that is. I'm the oldest version of it. I was born in 96. So I'm like smack dab in the middle of those two. But
we call you a cusper. You're on the cusp.
Okay, yeah, a
of both.
cusper. There you go. I like that. I'm going to start calling myself that. That's cool. Conor the cusper. Actually, I'm not. That sounds bad.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm like, I understand both. Like I understand needing to have the flexibility to work from home and do the things that you want to do. But also, I understand the face-to-face. Like, we wouldn't be able to get this right now if it weren't for the face-to-face stuff that you and I do. So,
right. Yeah, I mean, I even look at it, in terms of like as a parent. There's times that, my kid wants to like talk things out via text. I'm like, this is a conversation. This is in person. This doesn't warrant a text.
Yeah.
But he's very comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Because that's just kind of how life is for his generation.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And I've found myself clashing with a few business owners before where they see me and they're like, do you only work 40 hours a week? I'm like, yeah, I get a lot done in the 40 hours because I'm not sitting around like just counting the hours. I'm just trying to put as much as I can in the 40 so I don't have to work 50.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. So kind of in the same vein, I had a specific example that I shared with you before this about a customer of mine talking through why they did or didn't want to have a break room for lunch where everyone is able to go to it.
Yeah.
They were concerned about there being either conflict between departments or gossip being had between departments and people who normally don't interact with each other interacting and causing issues. What would you say, as Kristen Jonas, the HR consultant, what would you give them as far as advice goes?
I guess what I would first say is if you have a concern about putting employees in a room on some personal time and you think that the conversation is going to turn negative about the organization and you're worried about gossiping or you're worried about something like that, I think you have a bigger problem. I think you have a culture issue because we're concerned about allowing access to each other so that they don't have a negative outcome. I think it's probably a cultural issue. The other thing I would say is every break room I've ever gone into, most people are on their screens and eating their lunch.
Yeah, we
They're not
mind
even
our
chatting.
business.
They're not even chatting with each other. They're chatting at their workstations. They're chatting, in different pockets of the business. But when they're on their break, they're checking their email. They're checking their socials.
Yep.
They're texting who they need to text about whatever's happened after 4:00. It's mostly that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I used to work at a pharmaceutical plant down in southern Indiana before I moved up here, just like as a grunt worker. Like, I hate to use that term, but like manual labor. I would always do that. I would have fun with the people on the shop floor and just talk with them and hang out. But then the minute the break room came, I was on my phone checking in with my wife, Kristen, which shares names, Kristen Jones, Kristen Jonas. It's funny,
so
but
close.
So close. But I would spend time checking in with my family.
Yeah.
I wouldn't spend time BSing with the guy next to me because I was doing that all day.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you took the twist of maybe there's a cultural issue there.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, maybe they just have an irrational fear. Like, maybe they think that there are issues there that aren't actually there, and they're worried that stuff will get brought up. I don't know.
Yeah, I think to me, I'd first want to say, okay, we've probably got a concern about respect. So like what, culturally, what have you communicated and what have we done to build that up, and or what have we done to take it down, that as well. So
yeah,
something's going on.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I listened to the other podcast that you were on like a month and a half ago, I think. Okay. It was the Insight one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned that your relationship with IT and your relationship with like just IT providers in general has been tenuous at best. Like you've had to deal with things that you shouldn't have had to deal with. I've also seen that from people who were in your position before as the HR director or HR generalist or someone who was just handed IT, like, here, deal with it because you're good with people and you know computers. What advice could you give to people that are in that boat right now of trying to better understand how to talk to a technology provider or how to talk IT with people?
So you're right. It was difficult, and sometimes it's like, what would HR and IT have in common? But when you're onboarding an employee, you got to get like the way that to make someone feel unwelcome is not have their computer ready, not have their software ready, not have their email set up, not have their hardware in place. Oh, we've got a laptop coming. It should be here by the end of the week. What are they going to do in the meantime?
Yeah.
Same thing with offboarding. If you have a termination, whether it's a resignation or something that you have to initiate, you have to have all the levers ready to go at the time so that we close access. So it's in a lot of ways. And then when people are, so in a lot of ways there is an element of HR in there. But I always would say to our vendor, because I'm not good with technology, but I'm good with managing people, managing a budget. So I would always say to our vendor, kindergarten version.
Yeah.
Please. Yep. Kindergarten version. Because if I have to repeat this to my leader to ask for more money or to explain why something is not working, sometimes it's our own fault. We decided to go cheap.
Yeah.
And so now, you get what you get. So, how do we help me explain that? Yeah. And so that's usually what I did, and take notes. I mean, I definitely take notes because I'm not going to remember and be able to repeat it back.
Especially if they have that tech speak.
Yeah.
And that's like what my role is at Loyalty. It's to take what my team is telling me or what I see on the tech side and try to bring it at a kindergarten level, like where I could explain it to my kid.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do, especially when you're talking about like segregating networks and making sure that certain things don't communicate with others. And like, there's a ton of technical speak behind that, but getting the actual risk across is, what we try to do.
For sure. And spending money to save money. I remember back in construction days, we would let those laptops go till the very, very bitter end, out in the construction site, in the dirt, in the elements. And when we started saying, all right, we're going to replace them every X years, and it was early. I mean, it wasn't very long, and we were replacing another laptop. But it saved us so much headache because they were still, the speed was good and all the things, and it made more sense.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a conversation I'm having with people too, where you spend money to save money also on just the cyber side, because then if you have good enough stuff in place, you're not going to get hacked like other places are, which then means you're not going to have to spend $250,000 on a ransomware breach. So it's really interesting that way. So I met you thanks to Joel at Discover Green Bay, which is really cool. Like, we're here at Discover Green Bay right now, and I just saw him. Did you see him cooking the brats out there?
I didn't. I came in through the other door so that I wasn't walking through their party.
Oh, that's funny. I walked through their party, and I was just talking to Joel. He's like, who do you have today? I'm like, oh, I have Kristen Jonas. And he said, oh, tell her I said hi.
Yeah.
Like, sweet. But so I met you through Business with Christ the day that they had it here at Discover Green Bay. How did you get hooked up with Business with Christ?
So I joined the De Pere Chamber of Commerce, and I went to one, and I'm like, I'm just going to try it out. I don't know if this is my jam to be talking openly. I'm a little bit more private with my faith, or I have been. Like, I'm starting to become more comfortable with it, much in part to people like you who are willing to share it and talk more about it. Like, that to me inspires me to be a little bit more open with it, especially in business, where it doesn't. Some people don't believe it fits.
No.
but I was like, that guy goes to our church. This is Joel.
Yeah.
And he's, tall, and he's got a huge wingspan, and he's very expressive in church, and he's very, he serves. And so he was talking, and I go, you go to our church, you go to my church. And he's like, didn't recognize me at all. But, so then, it just, and then we immediately connected on that. And then I just thought, I'm going to keep going because people are just so cool in that room. And nobody's holding back.
No.
Everybody's just like, here's how I feel.
Yeah.
And it's all like on par with how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. And I felt similarly, like, because I met, so for me, it went Joel and then David from the De Pere Chamber.
Yes.
And then he was like, you should come to this. And it was like literally that day. And I'm like, where is it? He said, Discover Green Bay. I'm like, perfect. I feel comfortable here. That's great.
Yeah.
So I saw you there. I don't think I actually said hi until after.
Yeah.
But then, like, just feeling so comfortable around everyone, and everyone was able to talk about things that weren't even necessarily biblically accurate either, but just bringing things to the table and feeling safe. That was so cool. Like, I've heard heretical things come out of their mouths. Heretical stuff has come out of my mouth, where it's, like, not accurate, but we feel safe around each other, and then we can correct each other, too, which is so cool.
Yeah, and for me, like, I'll never be able to quote scripture. Like, I would just feel like I'll mess it up. But from an HR standpoint, like, I will never do anything that I don't feel is right or treats another human right, because that's my faith talking.
Yeah.
And so if it's not, things sometimes happen. We have to downsize. We have to make staff changes, but we do it in an empathetic and caring and appropriate way.
Yeah.
And so that's part of it. And one of my favorite bosses that I have ever had, and actually, I mean, I really miss him in a lot of ways. We had such a good connection, but he was very faith-filled. And so when we would talk, what's the right thing to do here? We've got the business, but we've got the human side. How do we put those two together? But the human side almost always prevailed.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And it comes down to, like, thank you for, like, I don't know if you were giving me props, but, like, thank you for saying that I emboldened you a little bit to, like, share your faith more, because that's what I'm trying to do more than just, like, sharing Jesus with everyone. It's, if I do this and people see that I'm just a normal dude who's just going about his life, but sharing Jesus in all that I do, hopefully it emboldens other Christians to do the same, which then will make it so more Christians happen. Like more people believe in Christ, more people believe in Jesus, and then we bring it into business with us. Because I don't see how people can separate the two. Like, realistically, I just don't, but that's because of how I was brought to faith. Like, Jesus is absolutely part of everything, and yeah.
I think the way I always look at it, if people knew him more, they probably would make better and different decisions. Yeah. And so sometimes, I think about that in terms of my employees that I'm trying to coach up, or there's been some bad behaviors, things that we've had to, harassment issues, different things. And I just think if they just knew him more. Yeah. We would have less of this.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, that brings up something that I wasn't even going to talk about, but from an HR standpoint, because it's one thing for a salesperson like me to go out and talk about Jesus with people. I also was a youth pastor slash youth director. It's in my resume. Yeah. I can just easily talk about it. Yeah. HR is a little goofy with that. Like, you can't. No. How do you still do that, though? Like, is it more of just, like, leading by example and hoping that they ask you at some point why? Like, how?
There's been times, I'll admit, Conor, there's been times that I have said to people, I mean, there's been some seriously broken people in my office with, their stuff at home came into the workplace, and they're just lost people. And I've often said, do you have a church? No, I don't have a church. I wasn't really raised like that. And I always say it might be something that could help heal your heart, and you might want to think about it. And then I've suggested my church.
That's really cool.
But this was in the environment where my boss, I know, would 100% back me on it also. Mm-hmm. But you also temper it. Like, okay, I can tell that this person probably isn't going to be interested in hearing about that. And I leave it at that. I don't pray with them. I don't do that. But I also will hug people when, HR is,
you're not supposed
people,
to. Don't touch
anybody.
No.
But if somebody is really distraught and they're, I'll say, can I give you a hug? And we care about people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
One line that I have with people now is just asking at the end, if someone isn't a Christian or is a Christian, can I pray with you? Like I've had times in business meetings where I'm able to pray with people, which is so cool. And there was actually one time where I was down in Milwaukee for, I can't remember the name of the business, but they handle like all the Jewish synagogues down there. So it got so crazy in our conversation that this woman at the end asked me, do you believe that everyone who doesn't believe in Jesus goes to hell? And I'm like, what a hard-hitting question for an IT conversation. Yeah. Let me dive into it. And like we got into it. And then I was able to ask her, like, why don't you think that Jesus fulfills everything in your Torah? Like, why don't you? So then we had this conversation because there was a mutual respect. We clearly both loved people and we cared about each other.
Yeah.
And we were able to have this discussion. But again, that wouldn't have happened if either of us wouldn't have brought up faith in general during the conversation. So it's really interesting.
Well, I do this presentation on conflict in the workplace, and I start with a slide that says conflict is started in the beginning of time. There's a picture of Cain and Abel.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Because they're human number 3 and human number 4.
Yeah.
And they had major conflict. And so I kick off that presentation, and not once. And sometimes, I have the picture. It's kind of a cartoon. It's not like, obviously. And I've asked people, do you recognize these two? And somebody always recognizes that Cain and Abel.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. How messed up is humanity that like we couldn't even get to human 5 before murder came in? Like what?
Right.
What? That's just
And I usually don't like get into them, but they were in conflict.
Yeah.
And one was a farmer, and one was a shepherd, and one had a hard job, one had an easy job, and so it's like
that's a great way to bring it into the workplace. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So to wrap this up here, I've been asking guests this question that I kind of prefaced for you before. If you had a time machine and you could go back to the beginning of your career, what would you tell Kristen Jonas at the beginning of her career? What's one piece of advice you would give her?
I would say probably have a little bit more patience, because I was expecting things to happen in a rapid way. But when I look back on my journey, how I learned how to do all the HR things, it was really mainly through the experience of working with humans. I was like, I just want to be there, and I want to be able to I want the manager title, and then I want the director title, and then I want to manage other places. And it all came, at the height of my career, I had 4 other locations that I was responsible for from an HR standpoint. But I would not have been ready for that until I had all sorts of that janky pothole-filled road, and you live and learn. And I think that would probably be it's all everything that kind of, that phrase, everything happens for a reason, and God has his plans. Yeah. And I love this pastor that I listen to. He always talks about it's not a setback, it's a setup. And all those difficult times were set up for me to grow in my career. So I would say have patience, because you have to have a journey to get you to the top. Otherwise, you're not going to be ready for it, and it'll show.
No. Yeah,
it'll show.
That's awesome advice. I wish that I would have gotten it earlier in my life. Yeah. Like I'm starting to learn it as I go. But I mean, same with you. Like I was so impatient. I'm like, okay, all these deals are going to close. All these things are going to happen. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. And yes, it has been, but I realized like if what I'm getting now would have happened 6 years ago, I would have been so cocky, and it would have been awful, and I wouldn't have been humbled, and I wouldn't have given glory to God, and I wouldn't have had all this stuff happen, and it probably would have ruined me. So like in the patience sense of like our faith, God's timing is perfect. Like it really is, even if it feels weird to us.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree. I mean, that is definitely, there's been times that I was just like, what the heck is taking so long? And it was because I was still learning to do.
Yeah. And I bet owning your own business now, you're in that again, probably, where it's like, I wish it would just like, I see it. I wish it would happen.
I know all the HR stuff.
Yeah.
But the actual managing your own business and business development and all the things that go into it, that's the hard stuff.
Well, I know a guy who's done business development for a long time. Yeah. I'm kidding. I like my job. So, thanks for joining me, Kristen. Hopefully everyone here enjoyed this conversation as much as we did. The next episode that's going to come out, our next guest is actually Will Robinson. Do you know Will?
I do.
Okay, so Will is
Yeah.
going to be talking about just being a really good networker, kind of
Yeah.
similar to like the business development
Yeah.
side, but I actually model how I connect people and how I network after him. Like he taught me how to network this way, which is really cool. So we're just going to have a conversation about that. He's also going to talk about what he's doing now, which is he works at ESOP Partners.
Yeah, he changed
So
jobs.
yeah, it changed from insurance to now helping with employee-owned companies, which is right in line with what you're kind of talking about with like HR stuff. So it's
Yeah.
funny how these things work out in Snowball.
Well, I met him at Business with Christ.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
He was in the room a couple times ago, and then I was at a conference and saw him, and we chatted. But I didn't know he was good at that. So
Yeah.
I might have to bother him for
Yeah.
a coffee.
Oh yeah, you should.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
should talk to him. He's awesome. And what's cool is I've actually seen his faith journey grow too. Because when we met 6 years ago, he wasn't a Christian, and then we just got reconnected 4 years ago. He's a Christian. He's very outspoken about his faith, and like
Yeah.
that's been amazing. And it's been so fun watching him grow and being able to do it together now instead of me feeling like the really young pup trying to learn from him.
Yeah.
It's like we're doing it together.
I'm
So
glad
it's-
you mentioned that. Now I'm going to really
Yeah.
pay attention.
Yeah,
Okay.
you should. He's putting videos out now on LinkedIn too, so you should. Yeah,
Okay.
you should check it out.
Awesome.
Really cool. But anyway, thank you for joining us. God bless, and make it a really good week.
Thanks for having me.